Okay, so now that we have data from our circle lab, we're going to graph that data. So we're going to look at the relationship between, in this case, the circumference of a circle and the diameter of a circle. Now, before you do this, you need to go into Classroom and go to the link that takes you to Vernier to download the Graphical Analysis app. So there's other instructions on how to do that. But once you do that, you're going to open that up. So you're going to go into your apps. Yours will look different than this. And then you're going to open that Vernier Graphical Analysis. Now there's some different options here. The sensor data collection is for if you have a sensor. We will do some of that later on, but not right now. Data sharing is if you have a separate device. We don't have that. We want manual entry for this particular lab. And so what that does is it brings up a blank graph and a blank data table. So this allows you to create your own data table and your own graph based on the data that you have. So what we did is we measured the circumference and the diameter of a circle. So first thing that we're going to do is come over here and we're going to change our data table to reflect the variables that we used in our lab. So if you click on column options, it pops up with this, and you're going to rename this. Now on our x-axis, we're going to put our independent variable goes on the x-axis. So the independent variable in this case was the diameter of the circle. And we measured that in centimeters. So you're just going to put centimeters in there. You can change the number of decimal places if you want. You don't have to. So you're just going to click on apply. Now, if you notice over here, the top of the data table changed. And down here on the bottom of this axis, it changed for that particular variable. We're going to do the same thing with the y. We're going to column options. Now on our y variable, this was our dependent variable, and this was the circumference of our circle. And we measured that in centimeters as well. We're going to click on apply. So if you look over here on our graph, now on our y-axis, we have our circumference in centimeters, and on our y variable for our data table, we have that in circumference as well. You can also change if you click on this. Maybe I forget how to do this. Edit graph options. If you come down here, there's a little tiny graph down here in the bottom. If you click on edit graph options, you can add your title. So typically when we add a title to a graph, the convention is the dependent variable versus the independent variable. So our dependent variable was circumference. Versus diameter. So if you want to put of a circle, you can do that too. Just leave this as points. That change, your scaling will be automatic. We'll look at that here in a second. And then you just close that, it stays, you have a title for your graph. Then you're going to come over and you're going to put in your data. Now you don't have to put it in order of largest to smallest or smallest to largest, or it can be in a random order, it doesn't matter. So we're just going to enter some numbers here. Now when you hit enter, it's going to go across. So keep that in mind. I'm making up some. There we go. Okay. So once you put in your data points, you'll get the datas. Now, one thing I do want to point out down here, notice this is not 0, 0. We do want to change that. So that's where we come back here to our edit graph options. You can change this to always show 0. You typically want to do that because this particular program will zoom in. It'll zoom in a lot and you get some really kind of weird numbers with that. So you do want your origin there. So now we've got our data and we want to draw a best fit line. The really great thing about this is you can do what we call apply curve fit. So apply curve fit, and you can choose. Most of our graphs are going to be linear. in here. And if you look at that, click on linear, you get a very nice straight line, best fit line. Okay. Now, what I want to point out is you don't have to worry about calculating. I don't know what that is. You don't have to calculate your slope. This is going to give it to you. So M, remember from math, M on a graph represents the slope. And the slope right here is 3.098. Okay. The B is the y-intercept, and I have a y-intercept of negative 0.01214. So there's some important information. Those are really the two things that we're going to use. We don't need to worry about the R or the RMSE. Okay, so that is how you make your graph. You can save it. I highly recommend that you save anything that you ever do. You don't have to do it again, just in case. Once you have that, you're going to take a screenshot and follow the instructions that you have in Classroom.